game as well, man. Got to wait all that time. But yeah, we're live
Yeah,
now.
yeah, we're in. But this is it. Welcome, guys. Look, where do we go from here? Where do we go? Because look, um, I said it from the beginning. I want to get your opinion as well from me after the
Mhm.
result. Uh, I originally, from my own point of view, I originally thought, right, if we can get a point, great. I didn't think that we'd win the game going into the game against Leeds, but it was the manner of the defeat, and which was the biggest disappointment. And I think that's why a lot of the fans are properly kicking off at the moment. Within an hour of the game finishing, there was the Bruce out stuff, bashing of the players. Some warranted, some not, in my own opinion. But it, you know, we're now going into a must-win game again. Even off the bounce, winning two out on the bounce, we're now going into a must-win game. So, where do we go now, man? Come on.
I mean, the thing is you know the saddest part. It's literally been the story of our season. One good
Mm.
performance, or no, not even a good performance, a win, and then a terrible performance to follow it. Now, most of the wins we've had this season, I think bar Burnley and West Ham, most of them, Everton was an impressive win. I didn't think we'd beat them, but we beat them. But other than that, it's been terrible to watch. There's been no consistency. Against Leeds, we started well. We kind of drifted. We let Leeds get so comfortable to the point where I thought I was watching Barcelona, and then
Yeah,
funny enough, we got the goal against the run of play because they were actually terrible. They weren't great defensively, but we would never know that because we rarely test them defensively. We were just camped in our half, and then we got the goal. They went 2-1 up, which they deserved. At that point, I'm like, yeah, they deserve all of this. I mean, what am I going to complain about? Magically, we get a goal out of nothing. Again, not deserved. And again, no management, no thought process. Thought, you know what? We've had a beating tonight, but we're still at 2-2. Okay, at least let's walk away here with a point. You know,
yeah.
but no, no. It's we lose 5-2 from where?
And that's the thing. You made a couple of good points there because look, we ended up losing 5-2 to a team that, in my opinion, didn't even play that well. They were fitter than us. Like, that was without question. They ran all day, and probably fitness made a difference in the end. But actually, their defense was shocking. Their defense was poor. And we had chances after chance at one point in the second half, and we just couldn't get anything clear cut. And then you think, to get hit by five by them, who were 3 points below us going into the game, after all the talk of how much of a great season they've had, like, you're thinking, hold on a second, like, we should be the team dominating here. And that's the thing. It's worrying, and I think Leon put on there a minute ago on one of the comments is that if we don't win on Saturday, we could be in serious trouble. And I agree, I don't know what you think about that from me, because me personally, I for these sets of games up until Fulham, I had a target of we need to be at least 20 points or above by the time that we get to these next round of fixtures with the likes of Man City, Liverpool, Leicester coming up, because all the teams below us at that point are going to have effectively 3 games to catch up and get some points on us, because their fixtures will be significantly less demanding than ours. I don't know what you think about that.
The thing is this: we if we sit back and let teams come onto us the way we do, we're just asking for trouble. It makes no sense. We've got teams like West Brom, Leeds, and Fulham backing us up. Well, not Fulham, but we're getting backed up. Remember, we didn't play Villa. We haven't played Villa. Do you see what I'm saying? If we went to Villa Park with that mentality, with Jack Grealish's brain, they'd have killed us. They'd have murdered us. We can't let these. We just sit there and admire them pinging the Germany crosses they got into our box. It's suicidal football. We're not Tottenham. We don't have the composure or the genius manager who actually has the players to take that kind of pressure and nick one at the other end. We don't
Yeah.
even have that. We don't even get on the counter, Pete. There's no. When's the last time you saw us do what half the teams do to us? But we're camped in their half and they can't get out.
There's too much respect there. There's too much
Way
respect
too much.
from our, and it starts from the top. There's too much respect there from our manager. I mean, I don't know if you've heard the press conference today. I don't know if you listened to it, if you heard it. Honestly, it absolutely baffles me. Basically, it was a Steve Bruce loving with Mitrovic saying that I would have never sold him, and that he's a cult hero for the Newcastle fans, and blah 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 blah. He wasn't even that good for us. You know what I mean? It
Cult
was all
hero.
aggression.
When?
Yeah,
When?
exactly, exactly. Honestly,
When?
it
Gutierrez is
absolutely
a
baffles
cult
me.
hero.
Yeah, exactly.
Gutierrez is a cult hero. He kept us up. What did Mitrovic? I don't even want to hear that. But that just shows you a man who has no idea what he's doing, Pete. Because he doesn't discuss. You know what he said in his post game match against Leeds? He felt we gave as good as we got.
Yeah, and that's the whole point, and that goes back to the original point that we were making about we have the reason why we don't do to teams what teams do to us is because we have far too much respect for the manager and for the players of the opposition. Bruce talks them up in the press conferences every week. He always talks about their positives and what they're capable of doing to us, not about what we're capable of doing to them, which is what it should be about. It's always the opposite. And then we give him too much respect on the pitch. I mean, you can guarantee that Fulham are going to come to us tomorrow and probably have maybe 10, 15, maybe 20 shots on goal. They're probably going to have more possession than us. They're going to control the game. And they're going to think, yeah, I wish the Premier League was like this every week. And that's the problem. And that's where the worry is. I mean, we should be looking at Fulham, regardless of their point against Liverpool. Regardless of that, we should be looking at
But they
Fulham and
didn't win their
thinking,
last game. They were terrible
no,
in their last game.
they were terrible against Brighton, and Brighton should have won, and they were at home.
Yeah.
Brighton had plenty of shots, plenty of attacking threat, and probably should have won the game. So Fulham will revert back to being Fulham, but the problem is that we're going into this game now with zero confidence after getting absolutely hammered, and we're going to be playing on eggshells, and that's my worry going into it.
Well,
But Mark,
you know what, Pete? Sorry,
yeah, go
Mark. Just before, my
Oh
biggest
no, it's
worry
fine.
is we we have problems in the sense where we have players who are just not doing anything. Like Sean Longstaff, for instance, he's deteriorated as a player. I don't understand what's going on. Then you got Lewis, who needs coaching. His defensive awareness is terrible. Mankilo and Kraft, as you know, as slow as Kraft is, he's not that bad defensively. He's just not quick enough. But Lewis is off. That needs to be discussed. Normally, at the back four is where I was at least, we got Shells and Fernandez. At least we have, battlers in there. But if we have people switching off in the back four, we're in trouble. We need Matt Ritchie to start because he's the only voice we have in the club. He's the only one that will run the team ragged and get people working. Sean Longstaff needs, I don't know what he needs, but yeah, Marv, you can carry on.
For me, I can imagine after the game against Leeds is just a shocker. But my main two issues are, it used to be striking issues, but it's not even that. For me, it's the fullback issue in the central midfield, where with Leeds, it was literally like what was mentioned before in the previous stream. They weren't even that good. They just walked straight through them. You can't have a midfield of Hendrick and Sean Longstaff. Sean Longstaff, like I said, he's just regressed. I don't know what's happened to him. And he just gives the ball away in the most ridiculous areas. And then fullback, he's playing Murphy right back in a flat
Oh
back
my
four,
God.
shocking. And then Lewis as well. He's just gone backwards as well. So the fullback areas really needs addressing. We really miss Lascelles in terms of his organisation. When we go to a back four, which ideally I'd like, we just leak in a lot of goals. So we've got Fulham at home. We need to attack them. But on the other hand, it's his personnel. And like I said, I know we've had the COVID situation, but I don't know what he's coaching them. He's had enough with his tenure now to see patterns of play. I don't see any patterns of play. We give the ball away too much. We just give the other team the ball and we're just really reactive. We're not proactive. We don't progress the ball forward. We don't move in any patterns. None of our goals are repeated. We don't exploit teams' weaknesses as much. Like with Leeds, they're really weak on set plays. We didn't try and get the ball into dangerous areas because we didn't have the possession up the field, and we made them look like, I'm from Leeds originally, and we made them look like a really, really good team where they play good patterns of play, but player for player, we have better players than they do, but they have a much better coach, and it's the coaching. And that's why I see teams like Southampton. I know they've got players like Ings and James Ward-Prowse, but I don't see that much difference in the squads. But again, their coach, they're well drilled. And you saw what Brighton did to us. I know they're not doing very well, but that game I thought was just down to just set up and like putting even that game Lamptey up against our team, and he just destroyed us. So yeah, at the moment, the Fulham at home for me, it's a must-win even this early on because this gap's closing. I remember a couple of weeks ago I was looking at it, and it was a good 10 points, but that can quickly over the Christmas period. We've got Liverpool and Man City coming up, can go to a couple of points. And then the
And we're going
mood
to lose
changes
both of
going
those
into the
games.
new year. Exactly. You may as
We're
well
going to lose
write
both
those
those
off.
games.
And then my main one as well is I just want to cup. That Brentford one is huge. Huge game as well with the cup game. Because when's the last time we had a semi-final to look forward to? Imagine if fans are allowed in and you've got a semi-final to look forward to. Yeah, that's my kind of view on it. Fulham have improved in terms of they're not shipping in as many goals. They weren't good the other day, but again, they're not letting in many. Even they played Liverpool and Man City recently, they've not letting that many goals. So I think it's gonna be a low scoring game. Could be 1-0.
I think you're right. No, I think you're spot on. And I think the key to all of that is obviously Steve Bruce. I mean, you talked a bit about Brighton and how we're set up there, and it's the key. It's how we set up. It's our mentality, and it's how we approach the game that will make the difference. Look, you look at Fulham, and they don't create many chances. They don't score many goals. They're not a free-flowing team. But if you allow them time and space on the ball, and that was what even Liverpool did that to them, and obviously they drew and probably should have lost the game. That's what can happen to you. If you give Fulham enough time and space on the ball, they will hurt you. The key for me,
Lookman looks quite decent as well, doesn't he?
And that goes into the point because it's not just Lookman. There's a few. There's a reason why Mitrovic doesn't play. I mean, for all of Bruce's loving in the press conference about Mitrovic and how he wouldn't have sold him if he was the manager at the time, and blah 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 blah, and all the rest of it. Mitrovic hasn't played for the last two games. He's coming off the bench for the last 10, 15 minutes because I think Fulham are starting to see what we saw at Newcastle in terms of he can be a liability to the team. He doesn't stick to tactics. He does his own thing, and it can have a detrimental effect to the team. The one thing I have noticed about Fulham is that they are heavily reliant on pace, and we need to, and our setup tomorrow needs to combat that. Because you've got is it Bobby Reed up top? You got Lookman. You got I can't remember the lad. Pronounce his name. Starts with an A. In midfield, got a lot of pace. Dynamic midfielder. They've got players that can really hurt you on a counter attack and on an attack. However, if we have the mentality to really, really attack them, their defence are as frail as it comes. We thought West Brom were bad defensively. These are worse. And they've probably got a better keeper in goal in Ariello, who is a good goalkeeper, and I'm surprised he's at Fulham. But look, if you attack enough, you'll breach him, and that needs to be the key. We're at home, we're chasing those 3 points. If we're sitting on 20 points by 10 o'clock tomorrow night, we'll be thinking, that's a pretty good half of the season. But going back to the point that Fumby made. If we're sitting on a draw or a loss at 10 o'clock tomorrow, the outlook of the season is going to be a hell of a lot worse. But going into that, you mentioned it, Marv, as well. You got the semi-final. And I'm sure we'll have another stream to kind of talk about the semi-final coming up. But it is massive, and Bruce has got to be thinking 20 points and a semi-final by next Thursday is a good season for him. And he needs to be motivated to make sure that happens too. But you talked about certain areas where we're struggling at the moment. Where do we go? Where do we go? Who starts? Who starts? Who drops out? What is this? For me, what is this team going to look like tomorrow, in your opinion?
I mean, before I could predict it, because when we win, he just plays the same team. But because we lost and we lost badly, I think he's going to put a right back in definitely tomorrow. I don't see Murphy
Right.
playing a right back. Um, I think Miggy will start. Shelby will start. Um, Wilson will definitely start. Uh, but then it's a question of Longstaff, or Hendricks. That's or Hayden in the midfield. Probably Hayden and hopefully Hayden and Shelby in the midfield because I don't think Sean Longstaff should play tomorrow. I think he needs some time off to rethink what's going on. We fought so hard, or there was such a big hoo-ha about Matty Longstaff signing for us, and no one's seen him this season. I don't
Yeah.
understand how our club works. It's the most ridiculous club you can think of. Um, I believe we have the quality to beat Fulham, but in terms of how Newcastle play football,
Yeah.
if we're pegged back at home again tomorrow, where we're letting Fulham dictate the play and running, I don't know what. It's funny because I think we're missing Saint Maximin because at least when he was in the team, we had an onus of going forward. Now he's not in the team. I don't know who drives us forward.
Well, that comes to the next point is that there's been a lot of talk for the last couple of weeks now about where St Maximin is because there's strangely in the last three press conferences, not one journalist has mentioned where's Alan St Maximin, the most creative, influential player in the club, and not one journalist has even mentioned it in any of his press conferences. And Steve Bruce has refused to, or even not even been given the opportunity to answer a question on it. It's all gone absolutely like stone cold silent with regards to St Maximin, and it's been out there today. I know NUFC Matters have put something out. I know Clinton Fordy's just put something out just recently. Where is he? Where is he? He's not been on social media. He's not been active. People have seen him in Newcastle, in and around the place, so it can't be COVID related. Because if it was COVID related, he'd be self-isolating, and nobody would see him. So there's a real question mark there about, I mean, what's Marv? What's going on? What do
That's
you
crazy
think?
because if people have seen him around Newcastle, I honestly just thought it was COVID. And it's almost like if someone's got COVID, it's almost like I think journalists don't ask. But if he's been seen around Newcastle, it's obviously not self-isolating, which is absolutely ridiculous. And I don't know if it goes back to him having a bust up with Vieira and something like that's happened again. And I feel like they've had a bust up and it's just been kept under wraps. And he's not playing if that's the case, which is really, really bad. I don't know. It's a bit like Aubameyang since they both signed the contract. So Maximin wasn't great even before he hasn't been playing. So I don't know what's going on, but it's definitely if you look at I'm not just one for stats, but the difference between when he's playing and when he's not. I know he hasn't been that great this season. It's a big difference, and the way we play, if we do have a system, it's pass the ball to him and he drives us up the field. If him and Almiron aren't playing and Fraser, you basically can just pin us back. Leeds were pinning us back and just catching us on the break, like ridiculously, because they knew there was nothing on the counter. When you set up against Newcastle and you see no Almiron, no Fraser, no Maximum, you can basically play a high line and then
Yeah,
you can just press from the front and you can pin us back and then we just have to boot it back and then the ball just comes back. And that's why we concede so much possession because the centre-backs are just playing near the halfway line because they know Joe Linton's not going to break free or
yeah.
Hendrick or whoever's playing on the wings. So,
And that's where you made a good point. And we'll carry on the St Max talk as well. But you
yeah.
made a good point, and that was just another thing that we did wrong against Leeds. I think that playing the likes of Joe Linton and Hendricks that aren't full of running or full of pace against a team that are full of running and pace and will outwork you was just a complete mismatch. And again, another poor decision by Steve Bruce. But yeah, just going back to the action point. Yeah, from there are some fans up north that have said that they've seen him out and about, and he has
Wow.
been out and about in the city. Not sort of openly, but I've seen him out and about, and the fact that they've seen him says that he's not self-isolating because otherwise he'd be breaking those COVID rules, and the club would have to be actioning that. So it begs the question: what's going on? There's been sort of rumours about him potentially going in January, and that there's been a huge bust up with Bruce and lots of other things. No, nothing confirmed. None of us know. Everyone's in the dark, including the media at the moment. but Fumby, Marv's just mentioned something that's important, is that when St. Maximin's in the team, or certainly in the squad, it makes us better.
Oh yeah, it definitely makes us better. I mean, I wasn't enjoying his performances prior to him going AWOL, but that was because of how Bruce sets up the team. That you can't get anything. Bruce can't improve any of our players. He's heavily reliant on their talents. He doesn't set up the team other than don't concede and then show me what you got. Almost there's no initiative here. So I'm happy Fraser's back. I think he's just as important in terms of an attacking threat. But I do worry that something has happened between Bruce and St. Maximin, which would be a shame because I'd rather see Bruce go than him, because I just think Bruce is trash, and I feel this way because and for a good 2 years, it wasn't the best. We went back to like the Keegan, the Bobby Robson days, but Rafa had us playing in a way that it was okay to watch us. I was comfortable. I was confident about games that even I wasn't even supposed to be winning. I was like, yeah, we could do something here. But now it's just a case of, man, here we go again. 10 minutes into that Leeds game, I was like, oh wow, we're on the front foot here. This team's jittery. We didn't get the goal. Then I started seeing Joe Linton do stupidity, just doing careless passes, and then Leeds just started bossing us. And then I just started watching my team. Same thing with West Brom. We didn't deserve to beat West Brom. We didn't actually deserve to beat them. They played better than us. They pushed us back. Their midfielder, I think he's Gallagher, the one on loan from Chelsea.
Yeah.
He was just running us ragged. Longstaff don't do that to nobody. Neither does Shelby. We're just trash.
Yeah, you're right. It was those two victories sort of against Palace and West Brom have kind of like what they've done, in my opinion, is just papered over some cracks. They've got us 6 points on the board, which is fantastic, which is so a points related business. But if you look at it from a performance point of view, and this is what the media don't understand. The fans look at the performance, they look at individuals and collectively. The media just look at the result and think, oh, they won, they must have played well. And then they'll just talk about it just on a generalized conversation. They've not watched the 90 minutes. They haven't seen the type of dross and crap that we watch week in, week out. And then their opinions are not justified. And two good goals from us, let's not get it twisted. There were two very good goals that we scored, but that's all we really produced in those 90 minutes against West Brom. And there's a potential for that to happen again. I still think we've got a really good chance of winning because there is a potential with Fulham's defence being really, really poor, and us just having that Bruce look. That Bruce look is running wild at the moment. We've got an opportunity to get something, but there's always that option. I mean, Fulham like to play at St. James's Park. When we last played them, sort of in the Premier League, it was a boring 0-0 draw, but really Fulham should have won a couple of years ago. And then before that in the Championship, where they tore us apart 3-0 when we were romping to the Championship title at that time, and they came in and destroyed us at St. James's Park. So they like playing at St. James's Park, and we don't have a great record against them at St. James's Park in recent years. So that for me is a little bit of a worry, because we do have bogey teams that come up and play against us up here. But
last time we played them, we spanked them though.
Yeah, at Fulham, at Craven Cottage, and that's where we got a little bit of hope. But obviously, tomorrow's at St. James's Park, and it's a different atmosphere. It's a different animal. We haven't got the fans behind us, which may help. But we don't know what type of. Go on, Mark.
So I think we need Gale and Wilson. See how that partnership can flourish, because Joe Linton, for me, I've had enough of this guy. It needs to be Gale's fit now, and you need someone that. Going to finish. I can imagine if Joe Linton's starting tomorrow, because we will get some chances. I think he's going to miss. He's going to miss some. He's going to miss a sitter.
Do you think
to make those kind of like judgments, but I think he'll miss chances when we need someone like Gale and Wilson who can finish. Because I think it'll be about the finishing tomorrow. We need to take advantage of the chances that we get.
and that's it. And you can see it just going across screen. It says Fulham have failed to score in 4 of their last 5 games. And so, Marv, the point you've made is absolutely spot on. It will be the finishing will be the difference. And if you're looking at players that we've got, you look if he does go all out for it, because there's a question out there for both of you whether is Gale ready to start the game and ready to play 90 minutes. But if he does, and you've got Wilson up top, you've got 2 strikers that can put the ball in the net. And as it's proven against Palace and as it's proven against West Brom, that could be the difference.
It's important.
So what
He's
do
not going to play
you
them
guys
both
think he's ready?
He's not going to play them both
I mean,
against
it's
Man City or
dangerous though.
Liverpool. So.
Sorry?
I think start him and then maybe give him like 60 minutes, then bring Joe Linton on.
Okay.
I mean,
Not
my
like
only
the
thing
whole
is
game.
this: if we start Gale and Wilson, we better score by the time he's coming off. We better be in front
That's true.
by the time he's coming off.
Yeah.
Because bringing on Joe Linton is like bringing on nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is the thing. It's kind of like, I mean, there's you got the option of throwing Carroll in there as well, because apparently Carroll's not been too happy with Bruce, and Bruce is said that he's going to get opportunities over the Christmas period to play. So it could well be that Bruce is the option off the bench. Not Bruce, sorry, definitely not Bruce. But Carroll being an option off the bench instead. But this is the thing. We brought Gale off the bench against West Brom, and he came and made an impact and got the winning goal because he was fresh and he was ready to go. But the worry is that do you take that risk in starting him and hoping that the game is done by the time he comes off, or if he does come off and you're bringing Joe Linton on, you're kind of disabling the attacking threat, so to speak. So it's a difficult one, and it's going to be an interesting decision. Look, where do we go with Sean Longstaff and Jamal Lewis? Let's start with Jamal Lewis, just because obviously he's had a lot of stick for the last couple of games, and there's a few fans that are saying that he needs to be taken out the side completely against Fulham. What do you think?
I don't know where
do you
Dummett
think
is at the moment. I think, like what Funmi said, we need Matt Ritchie on that side, because I think it'd be easy if he had a partnership with Ritchie talking to him, coaching him, helping him along. He's not really getting much coaching from anywhere else. I think Lewis and Ritchie for this game would be wise. We need an old head. Like Jamal Lewis and Matt Ritchie for this game would have been perfect. But I say keep him in because I don't really see an alternative. I don't had this chat before. I think it was one of the games that we had where I don't like to see right footer as left back. So I don't want to see Mankia there. I don't think Dummett's fit unless you move Clark there, but I don't know the centre-back situation at the moment with who we have. We used to have loads of centre-backs, but again, getting rid of Lejeune just seems a bit stupid.
It does, and you're right.
He's playing well in
seems
Spain.
like he's doing well, which I think is probably his style of play and his level, where he's at right now. At 30 years old, I don't see him having a future with us. But you're right. We're getting rid of a centre back and not actually finding a replacement in a COVID era where you need as big a squad as possible. It doesn't seem like the best decision. But you talked about Dummett. Dummett is still not fit. For me, his career at Newcastle is done. I'd be looking to move him on in the summer. There's a lot of talk. The talk's getting stronger actually week on week. That Zetro Williams is that deal's looking to hopefully get done in January, and that he comes back. There's talk that he's rejected a contract at Frankfurt, and he wants to come back to England, and there's a chance that he could actually have his contract cancelled for the last 6 months, and he comes on the free, which would be great. But even if he didn't, it would be a nominal fee that it would take to sign a Dutch international left back who has been fit now for a couple of months and training with Frankfurt for a couple of months now, so potentially could be ready to go and really give some support to Jamal Lewis, and I think that's what he needs. We forget sometimes as a fan base that he is 21 years old. He's still a young lad. This is the biggest club he's ever played for. At first team level.
Is this his first move as well? So he's.
I think he was at another club at a younger age before he moved to Norwich, and I'd have to check on that. But yeah, I mean, from Norwich, he spent most of his young career. This has
this
been
COVID time as well. It's not like his family would have been coming up all the time to see him.
And that's it. You got to think on a personal level, but you've also got to think on a professional level. That playing for Norwich with limited expectations on you, winning the championship is an expectation, great, but in the Premier League there's minimal expectations there, and then going from that to a club like Newcastle that has the expectations on their backs to perform for 90 minutes every single game, every single week, and perform at a certain level. So he's going to need to take time, but also as a 21-year-old lad, he needs older heads to help him through. Dummett would have been a good one to have as a 28, 29-year-old left back, but Zetro Williams would be even better because he's an international. He's played at a high level. And I just think he needs a little bit more time. Whereas you got like Sean Longstaff, who's demanded time on the pitch for in the restart and all the rest of it, has been given time. But Fumby, we had the stats up after the Leeds game from Statman Keith. Pass completion for that game was at 47.2% in that game. Pass completion like that.
Well,
as a midfielder that receives the ball, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, as a midfielder that gets the ball a lot, Fumby, come on, what is going on with him?
You're not going to get any pass completion if when the ball comes to you and all you have to do is make a clearance and your first touch was so terrible, they counter and score and we're 3-2 down. You're not going to get any pass completion with that. You're also not going to get any pass completion when all you're doing is defending your back four from the box and you don't necessarily win the ball. You get a lucky ricochet tackle in and you kick it out of play, or you have to rush it to the defender who loses the ball, or you knock it long. You're not going to get any pass completion.
It's pressing as well.
Sorry?
His pressing gone. His pressing game. It's gone.
His pressing game is weird. His passing is weird.
Runners. Yeah.
You know what? This is what I believe. I don't know what he's being told.
The number of people that get past him is shocking.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing as
dribblers.
No, it's the same thing as Shelby. They don't run with the ball. They literally look for the first available long pass. We don't have movement. We don't have touches. We don't even we don't even show the patience of the game.
Badly. Someone that
we don't build
with the ball.
Like we don't build up. Our build up play is not present.
The ones that hold it.
Yeah, and that's what we thought that we were getting with Sean Longstaff. I remember, I think all three of us and Fordy in the chat in Restart were talking after the Bournemouth game and for a few games afterwards and saying, like, when Sean Longstaff is back fit, that number 10 spot seems to be his own because he played there against Bournemouth. And for that 25 minutes was fantastic before he got injured. And he did everything that you said, Marv. He pressed high. He arrived late in the box. He was getting in there an opportunity to score. And you thought, you know what? We seem like we've got a player here. And it just seems like he's just reverted back to his old self in that he just seems very relaxed, too relaxed even on the ball. I mean, there was probably 3 separate occasions now in the last couple of games where he's been given the ball with no pressure either side of him, probably 10 yards either side of him in the middle of the park, just a simple pass into him, and he's took a touch and it's been a bad touch, and he's needed a second touch, and by the third touch he's been pressed and the ball's been taken off him. I think it happened twice against Leeds on Wednesday. And for a guy that was billed as this Michael Carrick reincarnation, and why he was linked with Man United effectively for 50-odd million, for someone that can't trap a ball with 20 yards either, 20 yards of space, 10 yards either side of him, and find a pass, that for me is a massive, massive concern. His position has not been great. His fitness levels have not been great. He wasn't one of the COVID sufferers, so he doesn't really have an excuse. But considering that Hayden was in bed and apparently he was close to being admitted to hospital, he had COVID that bad. Hayden's outran him in the last 2 games. Barely. I think he had 1 training session and he's played 2 games and outran him. And that for me that goes back to the manager. The manager needs to be asking the questions. Why is this happening? First and foremost, the manager needs to see that this is happening. Because if we can all see it, why is the manager not picking that up? So it's a big concern for me. Um, right, we'll go through the teams, or your teams that you think we should be laying down for tomorrow night. Now, bearing in mind from the press conference today, there has been no update on any of the other players that have been missing. So we don't know is the answer whether players are going to be back or not. He hasn't talked about any individual names. He hasn't mentioned that anyone's back or anyone's missing. In fact, he did say that everyone there has been no fresh injuries to any players from Wednesday. So we'll have pretty much the same squad, if not a few additions, if they are sort of last minute ones. But based on what we know, what would be, start with you, Marv, what would be your team that you would go into on Saturday to try and the formation as well, to try and sort of attack Fulham or certainly challenge them?
Mm, I would have. See, I'm torn between the wings with Jacob Murphy on one side and Richie on the other side, with Gale and Wilson up front to get the ball in the box. But on the other hand, then I want to see Almiron play as well, especially because he's had a rest. I think in the central midfield, Hayden and Shelby would be sensible. Then at the back, Clark and Fernandez. They need a big improvement on the game against Leeds. I'll play Lewis again, so I probably would put Richie on the left. So on the left-hand side, Lewis and Richie. On the right-hand side, not Jacob Murphy right back. I'd probably play Jacob Murphy right wing, and I'd play Manquillo. Obviously Darlow and net, and then I'd play Gale and Wilson up front. And then my bench, I guess, would be, rather than bringing on the strikers, I'd be bringing on Almiron and Fraser. But Almiron would be lucky not to start. It's more just the balance of the team. You could go with Almiron just off Wilson, but I think two up top could work quite well for this. And I think also if you got Shelby spraying the ball wide to Murphy and Richie, and they're getting the ball in the box, Wilson and Gale, they should get lots of chances. That's what I would do. And then you got Almiron and Fraser in reserve, and Joelinton and Carroll just knock them on.
Okay,
that's what I would do.
For me, what are we saying?
I wouldn't play. I'll play Miggy off of Callum Wilson. I wouldn't start Gale because I feel like we're going to need to bring him on, and I don't want to bring on Joelinton. So I don't want him to play 90 minutes. So I'd rather play Miggy behind Callum and have Fraser, and I do like Richie on the right hand side, maybe Fraser on the other hand side. I don't want Murphy again because Murphy, he just gets on my nerves. And just take Longstaff out of the midfield, put Manquillo back in the right. I don't know why he's not playing. I don't get it. Is he injured?
I think he's one of the ones that was suffering from COVID. So I think that's why. So he's not even been in the squad, and he's the one thing that we've talked about, or the fans have been talking about a lot, is the fact that the ones that we believe have had COVID are the ones that that Bruce just hasn't been talking about, just for confidentiality reasons. He just hasn't mentioned those players, and that's why I think we thought that St. Maximin was part of that group, because he hasn't mentioned him at all. But because fans have seen him around, that's why it's kind of thrown out the doubts there. But Manquillo, we think but he could be one of those ones that just pops up at the weekend. That, because the training pictures have been out today, and they're all the same players that played Wednesday, but they did the same. They did the same the other day, and then all of a sudden Ryan Fraser was back in the squad and playing. So there could be some surprises, but sorry, go on from me.
No. I was just saying that. I don't know why he's not playing. We need a right back. Kraft is a bit too slow for me, but Manquillo does the job, and he can defend as well. Sometimes he switches up, but more time he's on job. So I don't understand why we're playing Murphy there.
Would you like? I'm going to throw sort of a spanner in there. Would you play Yedlin? Would you get Yedlin a stint?
Why not?
Yeah, I forgot about it.
We're giving Longstaff a chance. Why not? I'd give Yedlin a chance. He's quick enough.
The pace side as well, yeah.
At this point, no one can be worse. I'll play Atsu. at this point because we've got no. What difference would it make? What difference would it honestly make? He has no consistency. This is December, and we don't even have a starting 11. We can say, boom, this is the one that smacked it up so far. And we're in December, bro. And we're in progress. We're a work in progress. Come on, man. He's taking the piss.
Yeah, you're right, and this is why I threw it out there because we have this situation where we've got three right backs, but he's playing a right winger at right back. So it's like a really weird situation. I'm thinking, look, we've given Kraft a chance in restarting the season more than I thought that we would, and we're back into a position now where we're actually, we need a right back that's got a little bit of pace about them. And I know, Yedlin's got his defensive frailties there, but do we put him back in for a game where we're playing against players that are very, very quick and attack at pace? And you looked, I mean, Marv, I imagine you watched the full 90 minutes on Wednesday, and I mean the way in which Leeds countered us with their pace. And the fact that we had a lack of it in the latter stages.
It was from
for
the
me,
corner, like what you mentioned before, where if you don't have the energy, don't go up. There was one point where my brother took a picture, and I think it's Alioski, I think you pronounce his name, the fourth goal.
Yeah.
And there was literally on the left side, or the right-hand side of our box, left-hand side of the goal, there was literally like 4 Leeds players there all ready from Hernandez's pass to just gobble it up, and no one was inside of that. So it was schoolboy defending.
100%. It was horrible to see. It really was. And that's where, for all of his sort of negativity and where he's been kind of shot down by Newcastle fans, is that his recovery runs and his pace does get him out of trouble and gets the team out of trouble. So, is that
was
something
he on the
that we
bench
bring
against
into
Leeds? Sorry, Yedlin. Is he even around?
You know what? I think he might have been. He was definitely obviously on the bench against West Brom because he came on quite late into the game to see out the game. So he's been in and around the squad recently. Now I know there's obviously talk of him leaving in January because he'll leave it in the summer anyway because his contract's up. But there's talk of him leaving. But whilst he's here, is it something that we invest in and we give him some minutes and get him to sort of give us one last big push to help out the team for a couple of games? And whilst he's here, let's make like the most of it. So that's where Bruce has got a few interesting things, interesting decisions to make. You've got
what lineup would you go for?
Well,
would you go to up front?
In some areas, I'll go through it. In some areas, it's difficult. In some areas, it's pretty easy. So Darlow in goal, without doubt. See the right back situation. If Manquillo's not fit, for me personally, I would play Yedlin. Because I just don't think Kraft has played very well. Like I understood why Kraft, for example, played against Burnley because of the height advantage and the fact that they're very aerial. Fulham are not. They're not. They've got smaller, pacier players at the top of the pitch. So height isn't really an issue. It's pace. And so for me, Yedlin would play down there to sort of counteract that. I would have Fernandez and Clark again. They didn't have the best games midweek, but they're probably our best pairing at the moment. I don't know whether Lascelles is back. We have no idea about that. And Shaw as well. I think they're all part of the COVID list, so we don't really know on them. We've got. I would go Jamal Lewis at left back. I think he needs to try and play through this period of time, and I would hope over the last couple of days that the players have been giving him a lot of positive sort of comments and encouragement, that he comes and really hits back with a performance, because that is any professional player, that's the best thing to be doing. Midfield, this is where it's tricky in the centre of midfield. I in my opinion, the players I would play is for absolutely standard Isaac Hayden, and I'd have John Joe Shelby in there, just for a little bit more of a control, just for someone that can receive a ball and play a pass, and protect the ball, and keep that possession ticking over. He doesn't do the sort of running that other players do in midfield, but he's just more effective on the ball. And I'm not saying he's massively more effective, but he looks after the ball a hell of a lot better than Sean Longstaff. The argument that I have is that obviously Hendrick scored on Wednesday. So I worry that Bruce is thinking he scored a goal, therefore he needs to start. So I then think he might go with Hendricks and Hayden. I don't think that's a good partnership, in my opinion. So I do worry about that. But I hope that he goes for Hayden and Shelvey. Do I okay on the wing on the left hand side? I go with Matt Ritchie. I personally think that's why he didn't play midweek, because I think they were saving him for today, and I think he is what we need on the left hand side at the moment for Jamal Lewis. He needs that support. He needs to know Jamal Lewis needs to know that if he's going to bomb forward and be an attacking left back, that he's got someone that is defensively minded that will go and cover for him. And Matt Ritchie will do that because he's a workhorse. You know, he's not a set maximum in terms of his attacking quality, but he does work his socks off. So I do believe that he's the best fit for that left hand side. Then you've got the question on the right hand side. Do you go with, like you said, you've got Jacob Murphy, you got Miggy Almiron. I would personally go with Miggy Almiron to start. I'd play him on that right hand side. He's a threat. He scored the goal against West Brom coming in from that area. Because the one thing that I like about Almiron is that he's a direct runner, so he will run at his fullback, but he can also make those diagonal runs in and behind the centre backs, and the centre backs hate that man making that diagonal run because they can't pick it up. And I think he gives that really well. And if you've got the likes of Shelvey and Ritchie in there, you've got potential. The question mark is that when do you play Ryan Fraser, because Ryan Fraser played really, really well.
That's true.
So there's a potential for that. So for my three across the midfield,
did he have COVID, or he was recovering from an injury?
He was injured.
Okay.
Hamstring. So look, I'm saying three attacking midfielders, and then I'd have Wilson up front. I would say, I'm not. I've got Ritchie, I've got Almiron, and I've got Fraser. I'm not going to say really set positions, really, because I think Ritchie and Fraser can switch across either wing, and then you can have Miggy Almiron in the middle. You can have Ryan Fraser in the middle with Ritchie on the right, Fraser on the left, or the other way around. They could play in lots of different positions, and that could help us throughout the game. But for me, that's where I would go. I would combat pace for pace and attacking threat for attacking threat, and then I'd have Wilson up top. I wouldn't have Joe Linton because he slows the game down far too much. And I just think, like Fumby said, having Gale coming on as an impact sub right now is probably better than him starting. Because the last thing we want is for him starting and pulling up after 15, 20 minutes, pulling his hamstring or getting an injury, and then we've lost him, but we've lost someone as an impact off the bench. So I would probably have him on the bench and maybe bring him on at 60 minutes and give him a little bit longer on the pitch, or maybe even at half time, depending on how the game's going. But I just think we need those options, those other options off the bench, and Bruce needs to manage that better. So that would be my team, and hopefully that would be a team that could get something, because we'd have pace at wing backs, we'd have the solidarity of the centre backs, but we'd also have the sort of a little bit more control in midfield, and then we'd have the pace going forward to really sort of disrupt some of their centre backs. Because the one thing about Fulham is their centre backs, they don't like willing runners. They don't like to pick up winning runners. So yeah, that would be my team. But look, what are you thinking? Honestly, what are you thinking about tomorrow, results wise?
I think it's going to be 0-0 at half time. I think Fulham will actually back off and try and play on the counter attack. So I'm not saying that we'd have necessarily more possession than them, but more possession than we've had recently. So it's about what we do with it. So I like the idea of Shelby being just with a bit more control. I think it'll be a low scoring game, and hopefully we win 1-0, but I think it could come quite late. And it could be, if Gale does play at some point, I think he'll score in the second half. So I think it will be 1-0, but it'll be quite a late goal. And it will be a scrappy game. Hayden will be very important to just cut off the counter attacks. I can see Julian and missing a sitter, Hayden getting booked, and Gale scoring. So remember those three things I can see happening tomorrow. But hopefully we'll
Okay.
win. We need to, because I think, especially not looking too far forward, but with the Brentford game, for me, I don't know what you're like, but when we get knocked out of a cup and say it's like the quarters, it's just the rest of the season's a bit of a dud, because we're not going to go for Europe or anything. So staying in a cup as long as possible. I know we've got Arsenal as well, but staying in the cups as long as possible, no matter how like badly we're playing, just lifts the mood. If we've got a semi-final, and it would be against a top team. Just that having that is important, and it's good to have a cup run. And we haven't been to the new Wembley for a competitive semi-final, so it'd be great to have that occasion just for the mood going into January. I think that game's very important. So if we beat Fulham and Brentford, which on paper we should, then it sets us up quite nicely, because we've got some difficult games coming up.
No, I mean, just really quickly, the one thing I'll say is that I agree. I think, you know, with the teams that we've talked about and that we've mentioned, I believe that, you know, we should win tomorrow, regardless of all the talk. We've got a team that's good enough to win that game without some of the ones that are missing for COVID and other reasons. We should be winning the game. We're at home. We should have the emphasis. We need the 3 points going into a tough run of fixtures, and that should be motivation enough. But going back to your point with regard to the cups, because that's an important part, and we'll finish on this, is that look, we've got 2 teams at the moment in both cups. We've got obviously Brentford in the quarterfinals, and we've got the third round. We've got Arsenal away. In my opinion, they're both teams that, one, are not great at the moment. Brentford aren't great in the Championship. You know, they've got Ivan Toney that's scoring some goals, but other than that, they don't really offer that much more. They're not high flying in terms of how Norwich are and Bournemouth are at the moment. They're up there, but they haven't played amazing football. I think their losses, the big players, a couple of their big players that they've lost in the summer has affected that. And for me, on Wednesday, we should be winning the game. Sorry, I think it's Tuesday. We should be winning the game. We should be going there without any fear.
When we had West Brom last season,
it's
a game that they're up there, but we should be beating them.
Yeah, and West Brom were second in the league at the time in the Championship.
I just hope he plays a strong team. Like he says,
that'll be the key.
Cups, that'll be the key. Like for me, like Wilson, will he play Wilson or will he put a Carroll up front? Those little decisions.
Well, this is it. It wouldn't surprise me if we see Andy Carroll play on Tuesday, and he plays sort of maybe a Carroll Gale partnership. And I personally don't think he'll play Wilson. If it was me, I would be playing Wilson on Saturday and in midweek for the cup, and then resting him against Man City. And then maybe play him against Liverpool. That's where I would give him his rest, because Liverpool at home, where home advantage, blah blah blah. But Man City is a game where traditionally we don't do well at all, and that's a game, in my opinion, where if you're going to get any rest out of him, it's there. But for me, the game is winnable against Brentford, and if I was Steve Bruce, I would be going all out to get that win. If he's got a semi-final, if he's got the fact that he's taken us to a semi-final on his tick list, on his list of achievements, like that can only be a good thing for him. So he should be motivated to get us into that semi-final. Equally, in the FA Cup, Arsenal are just not playing well at the moment. They just don't look like a good side, and they are conceding chance after chance after chance, and they don't really look like scoring massive amounts of goals. Now, we have an awful record at Arsenal. You'll know it, I know it, fans will know it. We've got a shocking record at Arsenal. However, if there's ever a time to put that right, it's this FA Cup game, because look, they're going to be resting players. They've got a busy schedule themselves. They're going to be resting players for that game, and resting players in an already struggling squad is not always a good thing. So I believe that's where we can really try and expose them. But again, it's all about our mentality and our attitude. It's how we go out there and approach them. And if we don't approach them in the right way, they'll find something that will turn us over. But the cups are going to be important this year. I think the League Cup's going to be more important than the FA Cup. I don't think we'll go as far as we did last year in the FA Cup, even if we do beat Arsenal. But the cups are going to have a bigger and better outlook on the team if we can get the results. So I think that's going to be key. Winning at Brentford is going to be important, not just for Bruce, but for the players. The players knowing that they're in a semi-final of a cup, and we know as well as anyone that the draw can pull up anybody. Who's to say that Stoke don't go and win against who they're playing? Who's to say that Everton don't beat Man United, and we've already beaten Everton this season?
Is it over 2 legs, the semi-final still?
I'm not too sure. That's an interesting one. I'm just of the mindset that the semi-finals are still 2 legs. But you've got Stoke, I think, are going to Tottenham. You've got you've got Everton, they're at home to Man United. You've got obviously Arsenal and Man City. If Arsenal pull up a surprise, Arsenal are a team that you can beat. Man City aren't playing great at the moment. There's opportunities there, providing that we get past Brentford. So we need to make sure that we're putting a performance in. And if I'm a player, if I'm Callum Wilson, if I'm Ryan Fraser, if I'm whoever on that pitch, I want to play that game.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't care whether the manager wants to rest me or not. I want to play in a quarter-final of a cup. I want to get this team to a semi-final. So, it'll be an interesting watch. We've got an interesting 4 or 5 days coming up, which will have a huge bearing in defining how this first half of the season has gone. So we'll be watching with interest. But are you going to be back with us on Saturday, Marv?
Yeah, hopefully. I don't know if you know, but I live in a different country now, so I actually live in Uganda. So It's like 12 o'clock here. Yeah, I know. I moved. I'm teaching over here now. So that might be why you haven't seen me in a little while, but I've got settled in quite well. So, are you on your Christmas break now? We just got a 3-week break now. So
yeah, just finished. Days. Yeah. So the kids finished. They finished yesterday, but officially it's today. And then we're in England. We're off for a couple of weeks. But no, congratulations, mate! Didn't realise that you got a new job and was actually out of the country. So fair play to you.
Now, a bit out of the country, but hopefully I'll be on the streams a bit more often. But I've still been watching them and stuff, which has been great. But hopefully the post-match Fulham. I'm playing football tomorrow, but it's a bit early on in the day, so hopefully post-match we'll be able to catch up and hopefully we got a win.
Fingers crossed that when we all get together after a win, it's always better.
It's always better
and a lot more enjoyable. Definitely.
Have a good one, mate. And hopefully I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, always welcome, mate. And I'll hopefully catch up with you guys tomorrow. All right, take care.
Cool. See you later, mate.